Ladies and gentlemen, in a surprising turnout event, US and UK has just announced a trade deal and is potentially going to change the landscape of this trade war, or is it going to? So the devil's in the detail. Let me share with you what's happening today and also give you my perspective of what's going to happen moving forward for this entire trade war. So the US and UK has just announced a trade deal and stock market has just risen quite significantly and the good days are potentially ahead, or is it not? So I think it's very important for us to take a look at details. So a lot of people are very, very happy about this trade deal. Is it really a good deal, or are we happy too soon? It's important for you to hit subscribe as I announce all this analysis real time so that you don't react wrongly, or at least you keep yourself well informed. So remember, hit subscribe as some big deals are potentially coming tomorrow between China and US. And I'll keep everybody informed. So always hit subscribe so that you will be alerted. As usual, these are my disclaimers. These are not financial advice, not telling you to buy or sell. And let's go. So US and UK has unveiled a framework for a trade deal. So they didn't really have a deal done. It's just a framework, right? So it's like basically, I say this or what I agree, you say this what I agree. Let's all shake hands. No signature, no document signed whatsoever. So this is just a framework. Not even an MOU. At least MOU got some documents signed, right? It's just a framework. So President Trump has lauded the agreement with first of major trading partners as since he imposed blanket tariffs on countries worldwide. So it is a major trade deal according to Trump. So this is President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer. The deal is done with UK first, and he said to believe that there are going to be a lot more deals that are coming with other countries. But the truth of the matter is that the US don't have a trade deficit with UK. The US have a $12 billion trade surplus with the United Kingdom, meaning that he actually exports more than import. So US is already making money out of UK. So it's the easiest country to get a deal, okay? So meanwhile, the baseline 10% tariff that Trump had announced on April 2nd will remain in effect for most UK imports, which certainly means higher price for consumer. And these guys get screwed anyway with the 10%. So let's take a look at the details. So this announcement was made in the White House. I think this guy is the UK ambassador, and there was a con call. I watched it a few times to see whether I got Chao Hilang or not, to see whether I'm deaf, to see how good this deal is. So the first thing is car tariffs are cut down to 10%. Now, so Trump first set a tariff of 10% baseline for everybody, and then he went up, okay, by 25%, okay, and now he basically reduced it back to 10%. Everybody is celebrating, right? But later I'll tell you, the comic out of this whole thing. So Trump has placed an import tariff of 25% on cars and car parts coming into US on top of the existing 2.5%. Now, this has been cut now to 10%. That means first it was 10%, then you went up to 25, now go down to 10. Okay. For a maximum of 100,000 UK cars, which matches the number of cars that UK exported last year. UK have quite a few luxury cars. I think Mini Cooper is one, Land Rover is one, Rolls Royce, Jaguar, quite a few. So, but any cars exported above 100,000 will be subjected to a 27.5% import tax. So cars are UK biggest export to US worth £9 billion last year. And this basically means that, the number of cars that are coming in is still status quo from last year, 10% tariff. So the UK currently charges a 10% on US car imports, but it's not clear if there are any changes on this. So that's the first one. The second thing is there's no more tariffs on steel and aluminium from UK. So a 25% tariff on steel and aluminium imports into US that's come into effect in March has been scrapped. Okay, so no more tax on this, no more tax on this. That's a big news because British Steel, which has been brought under government control, has been struggling to stay operational. If this 25% were to continue, that the whole industry is dead. The UK exports relatively a small amount of steel and aluminium to US, around $700 million in total. But the tariff also cover products made with steel and aluminium, including gym equipment, furniture, and machineries. These are worth a lot more, $2.2 billion, or 5% of UK exports to US. So this one is a big one. Okay, if this thing has stayed there, then UK, a lot of businesses will be down. So this is good for them. So the third deal is about food. So the US said that the change would expand the sale of beef into UK, which has previously faced 20% duties and capped at 1,000 metric ton. And this deal could create a $5 billion opportunity for exports, including $700 million ethanol and $250 million in other agricultural products. So the concern that UK always have is that American farmers use growth hormones to speed up the growth of their cows. And this is something that is banned in UK and EU in the 1980s. And right now, the UK has removed the tariff on American beef and agriculture products. But the UK government insists that there will be no weakening of UK food standard on imports. My take is this: you can relieve this, but if you are a UK consumer and you know that all the other beef doesn't contain growth hormones, so the US beef that imports in UK have growth hormones, what will you do? You can import. I'm not going to buy because I got other alternatives. Right? So you know what will happen potentially when growth hormones are part of it? When you take in growth hormones, your body can grow, right? So it's something very unhealthy. So that's why I think the UK consumers and the government were very reluctant. But anyway, they can do what they want, but I don't think the UK consumer will take in this thing easily. But to sum up, all the deals said and done, the 10% duties, okay, still remains. So anything from UK that come into US has still a 10%. So analysts saw through this, right? Although it's very significant, analysts saw through this, and it does not seem to alter the terms of trade between the two countries, as they stood the same before the changes introduced by Trump this year. So actually, this deal is a bit of a house sell logic. So Donald Trump is quite smart. Okay, he may be insane, but he's quite smart, insanely smart. So this is Donald Trump. He set a 10%, then he increased it massively, and now he bring it back to the same level. So this is, I would say that this is, if you call this art of the deal, well, I think so, right? It's really make them very happy. Okay, so I wouldn't be too celebrative of this deal if I'm from UK. So no formal deals were signed, and the announcement on both governments were very light on details. And the Prime Minister Starmer actually described the deal as a fantastic platform. The historical deal delivers for British businesses and British workers, protecting thousands of British shops, okay, including car manufacturing and steel. And the UK has no greater ally than the United States. Of course, he has to say that, right? It is true. The UK workers, many of them would have been laid off, lost a job, if this deal was not signed. It is true. Because if the deal stay at 25% or so, I think a lot of business is going to die. If the car industries are blocked, I think the car industry is going to die as well. So clearly this is the case. Trump managed to arm twist the UK government. So at the White House, Trump called this a great deal and pushed back against criticism and that he was overstating its importance. This is a very small deal for us, for America. This is a maxed out deal that we're going to make it even bigger. Now, meanwhile, in the UK Parliament, the opposition party saw through this deal and say that this is amounting to the tariffs being lowered by UK and being hiked by US. So it's not the same deal. So UK had a bad deal in this sense. This is not a historical deal with the US. We have been shafted, right? So this is not good, right? And of course, the opposition party demand a vote in the deal in the parliament, saying that you show complete disrespect to the public if MPs were denied a say. So the devil will be in the details. One thing for sure, Trump tariffs are still hitting key British industries, threatening the livelihoods among people in UK. So don't forget the 10% is still there. And so I don't think that's going to go away. So in that sense, I don't think that this is that good a deal for UK, but it could have been worse, right? So Donald Trump basically says that, these are the kind of deals that he's going to sign, right? So with this new pact with the UK, we now get a glimpse of the kind of agreement they might seek to negotiate around the globe. So basically, 10% non-negotiable. Non-negotiable, whoever you are, even I got surplus with you, you still get it. Same as Singapore, we cannot 10%. Okay? All 10%, the one won't go away. That is itself enough to hurt economy and trade deals. But with the other countries, I think it's going to be far more difficult, right? So anyone hoping that the White House will significantly roll back on its tariffs or win major concession abroad are bound for disappointment. I don't think it's going to be easy moving forward. So just to be very clear, this is not a trade deal. This is hailed by Trump as a major trade deal. It isn't. This is just a framework. Devil is in the detail. It takes months and months and months to get this done. And the trade deal agreement requires the Congress to approve. He doesn't have the authority to sign on the type of trade deal that exists between free trade agreement between countries. So the Congress will need to approve a trade arrangement, which will take longer than a 90-day pause. This is the agreement just to reverse some of the increase that he mentioned. So it is just what the press say, a bare bones of a narrow agreement, a framework. And then there'll be months of negotiation and legal paperwork to follow. So it may still crash and fall, right? So before the whole world get too optimistic, let's go into the details and understand the deal. But there are columnists that say that Trump's fake deal, he even call this a fake deal, and I'm borderline calling it a fake deal as well, was so stupid that we can't stop laughing, right? And the interesting thing is that you see all the officials, including the ambassador for UK, just sarcasing him with over-the-top praises. It is so disgusting and ridiculous to see the way they do it. Well, anyway, that's American politics at the worst. The stock market initially went up a bit. It went a lot up. Why? Because Trump told everybody, go and buy the stock market right now. Everything's going to go up. He actually said that during the press. And then after that, everybody suddenly came to their senses and it came down. The market cannot make up their mind. Is this a good news or bad news? Whether to trust Trump or not. So I just want to say that, there is a lot of euphoria, a lot of gamblers, a lot of speculators, a lot of hype and disappointment. I think it's just a big mess in the White House that's translated in the stock market. What is the meeting that's most important? It's not the UK. 无关痛痒, totally immaterial. The material one is with China. And the good thing is that China's Vice Premier He Lifeng will meet U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative as well for a first cut discussion and in a hope to de-escalate. So this one is the critical meeting. And we'll talk about some scenarios. If this scenario is such that when they meet, they don't go off tangent, meaning that they say, okay, let's agree to start discussing. That would be very good. Already, they will not have agreement of any terms. But China's position, let's see how hardball they play, is that I want you to remove all your tariffs before we start talking. I think that one is something US will never do. So if that will happen, then we're not going to have a good meeting, right? So a lot is in fluid. So If they agree to start talking, this meeting is to see whether they agree to start talking. And if they agree to do so, that's very good already. And if the position is you don't remove your tariff, I won't start talking, then that is bad. So these are the scenarios that happen. No one can tell what the outcome is. So anybody who bet in the stock market now is just betting on a possible outcome. I can't tell what outcome would it be. So what's my take? Let's step back and see. I think it is good that at least US have a what I call a pseudo trade deal, right? How trade deal done. The optics at least look good, right? Some trade deal is done, right? UK, some jobs are saved, that's good. It set the precedent that 10% is non-negotiable. 10% is non-negotiable. It's actually good for US in some sense. It's bad for trade, but good for US because 10% will go inside the US government coffers. It's so badly needed given there's a huge budget deficit with the US right now. US government is running so much deficit that this is unsustainable. And let me make it very clear. Their major trade partners like China, Canada, Mexico, Japan, Korea is not so easy to cut any deals. Not so easy. I think the world economy is likely to be hit for sure. Okay, for sure. We just don't know how long will the hit be and how deep will the economic impact will be. I think we need to still brace for some impact. We don't know how bad it is. Signs are real. In Korea, where I'm in right now, the first quarter results for GDP is really negative. So what is paramount is Saturday's meeting between US and China and see whether what scenarios play out. And I'm going to keep everybody informed what this scenario will be. If it turns out well, great. Right? If it turns out bad, then it will be very bad for the stock market. It could be that we now have a hype and just crash totally. So monitor closely, remember hit subscribe because I'm going to update everybody for the sudden changes. And it's very important you keep yourself in tune with this development. Okay, so let's just watch on, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye bye.